You're counting cash at the end of a shift you didn't want, stacking small notes into uneven piles, calculating what's left after rent, transport, and the loan you took last month. It doesn't stretch far enough. It never does. Your phone lights up on the counter. Her name. You answer immediately. Her voice is tight, controlled, but you hear the pressure behind it. They've given me a deadline. If I don't pay the tuition balance by Friday, I can't sit for exams. You don't respond right away. You already know what she's asking without her saying it directly. The number sits in your head because you've heard it before. It's not small. It's not something you can cover comfortably. You look down at the cash in your hands. It's not even close. I'll figure it out, you say. You say it before you fully think it through. There's a pause on the other end, then a shift in her tone, relief, gratitude. I knew you would. You hang up and stare at the counter for a few seconds longer than necessary. This isn't about helping with something small. This is a commitment, not just money, time, energy, responsibility. You understand what happens next. If you step in now, you don't just solve this problem. You become part of the system that keeps solving them. You finish counting, close out your shift, and sit down to do the math again. You consider options, borrowing, overtime, selling things you don't really want to sell. You weigh it against what it means if you don't act. She misses exams, delays graduation, everything shifts, her future slows down. You make the decision, not because it's easy, because it feels necessary. By Friday, you transfer the money. That's the moment everything changes. You don't call it a sacrifice yet, you call it support. You tell yourself it's temporary, a phase. You'll help her get through this, and then things will stabilize. You step into the role without announcing it. Provider, problem solver, the one who absorbs pressure so she can focus. The first few months feel manageable. You adjust your schedule, pick up extra shifts, cut your own expenses. You don't buy things you used to. You stop going out. You redirect everything toward keeping her stable. Tuition, books, occasional living costs when she falls short. You track everything mentally, not as a ledger, but as proof of commitment. She's grateful. She says it often. Messages late at night. I couldn't do this without you. It reinforces your decision, makes the strain feel justified. You begin structuring your life around her academic calendar. When she has exams, you increase her support. When things are lighter for her, you try to recover financially. It becomes a cycle. You adapt to it. You become efficient at managing pressure. Your own plans slow down. You notice it, but you don't address it. Because every time you think about redirecting energy back to yourself, something comes up. Another fee, another emergency, another reason to postpone your own growth. You rationalize it. She's almost done. That phrase becomes your anchor. Almost done. One more semester, one more payment, one more push. Years don't pass dramatically. They pass through repetition, work, transfer, adjust, repeat. You become reliable, predictable. The system depends on you now, not just her. You depend on your own consistency. If you slip, everything slips. There are moments when you feel the imbalance clearly, when you're exhausted, calculating expenses, realizing how much you've redirected. You consider pulling back, not completely, just enough to breathe. Then she calls, stressed about something, an assignment, a lecturer, another financial gap, and you step back into the role without hesitation because you've built your identity around it. You are the one who shows up. That matters to you. Halfway through her program, something shifts subtly, not dramatically enough to alarm you, just enough to register. Her schedule becomes busier, less time for calls, less frequent messages. You attribute it to academic pressure, final year workload. It makes sense. You adjust again. You give her more space. You reduce expectations. You tell yourself this is what support looks like. You don't question it deeply, because questioning it would force you to confront something you're not ready to analyze. By the time she enters her final year, your role is fully integrated. You've optimized your life around maintaining her progress. Your own ambitions have compressed into the background, not gone, just delayed. You track the finish line now. Graduation, that's the point where everything resets, where your sacrifices convert into shared stability, where the dynamic balances out. You hold on to that tightly. The final months are intense. Her stress increases. Your workload increases. You cover more expenses than before. Graduation fees, final project costs, small things that add up quickly. You don't hesitate. You move money around, take on additional hours, close the gaps. She graduates. The ceremony is short, formal, structured. You watch her walk across the stage. You feel something shift internally. Not relief, something closer to completion. You've been moving toward this moment for years. It feels like validation. Afterward, she hugs you. Thank you for everything. You nod, because there's more to come. That's what you believe. The weeks after graduation feel different at first, lighter at first. The pressure of school is gone. You expect a transition period, time for both of you to recalibrate. Then her behavior changes, gradually. Calls become shorter, messages less frequent, plans get postponed. You notice it, but you don't confront it immediately. You give it time. You assume she's adjusting to a new phase. You don't want to add pressure. Then, one evening, she asks to meet. You already feel it before she says anything. There's a tone in her voice you haven't heard before, controlled, distant. You sit across from her, listening. She doesn't take long. I think we need to go our separate ways. You don't interrupt. You're processing. She continues. I've been thinking about this for a while. I need to focus on myself now, my career, my future. You hear the words clearly. You don't understand them. What about everything we've built? You ask. She pauses. That was a different phase. You register that. A phase. You look at her trying to reconcile the version of her you supported with the version sitting in front of you now. They're not separate, you say. They are, she replies. There's no anger in her tone, no hesitation, just clarity. That's what makes it harder. You realize something in that moment. She's already made this decision. You're not part of the process. You're receiving the outcome. You don't argue further, not because you don't have points, because you recognize the structure. This isn't a negotiation, it's a conclusion. You leave the conversation without resolution, because there isn't one. The first few weeks after feel disorienting, not just emotionally, structurally. Your life has been organized around a system that no longer exists. The financial pressure reduces immediately. That's the first thing you notice. No more tuition payments, no more emergency transfers. Your income stabilizes. But the psychological shift takes longer. You review everything, not obsessively, systematically. Every decision, every adjustment, every time you chose to prioritize her path over your own. You don't frame it as regret immediately. You analyze it. Where did you overextend? Where did you stop setting boundaries? Where did support turn into dependency? The answers aren't simple. They're layered. You recognize that you made those choices willingly. No one forced you, but you also recognize the pattern. You attached your value to what you could provide. You built a system where your role was essential, but not necessarily permanent. That distinction becomes clear now. Over time, you redirect your energy, not out of anger, out of necessity. You rebuild your own plans, the ones you postponed. You invest in your skills. You create opportunities you had delayed. Your financial position improves faster than expected because you're no longer dividing it. That's a reality you don't ignore. Months pass, then a year. You reach a level of stability you hadn't experienced before, not just financially, structurally. You operate differently now, more controlled, more intentional. You still believe in support. You still value commitment, but you redefine the terms. Support is no longer unconditional. It's structured, mutual, balanced. You don't step into roles that require you to carry everything alone. You test consistency before you invest heavily. You observe actions over time, not just words in the moment. The experience doesn't make you closed. It makes you precise. You understand now that effort doesn't guarantee permanence, that investment doesn't always return in the form you expect, that people move through phases and not everyone intends to stay beyond them. You don't become cynical, you become aware, and that awareness changes how you move forward. If there's a lesson you take from it, it's not to stop supporting people. It's to support in a way that doesn't require you to disappear in the process. You maintain your own growth alongside theirs. You set limits before you're forced to. You recognize early when the balance shifts too far, and you adjust before it becomes your entire identity. Because the hardest part isn't being left,
It's realizing how much of yourself you gave away to a future that was never guaranteed to include you. And once you understand that, you stop building your life around a woman. You build it around structures that hold, even when people don't.